I'd like to bring to order the February 20th meeting of the Tiverton Town Council. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands
one
nation,
God,
indivisible,
with
liberty for all. Most.
Okay, the first item on our agenda is the library services. I believe Joan sent us something, and I think she put it in our mailbox, but I haven't gone to town hall.
It was in our box. I picked it up last night.
All right,
Yep.
so I'm going to try to find that right now.
Denise, do we need a roll call?
Yes, we do. Go ahead, Joan.
Councilor Janick,
It's Saturday, Jay.
Yeah, I know.
Councilor Edwards,
Here.
Councilor Perry,
Present.
Councilor Vieira,
Here.
Councilor Cook. I think that's a here. Councilor Burk,
Muted.
I think he's on mute.
Here.
So deMedeiros.
Yeah,
Present.
and we have Catherine from the library here with us. Welcome,
Hi,
Catherine.
Catherine.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
And I do have Carol Herman and Sandy Mantell here as well, part of the
Okay, we
library
can
budget.
bring them in if somebody would like to bring them in.
Doing it now.
I think I can, but I still haven't learned how to.
Thank you, Chris.
Good morning, Carol and Sanford.
Hi, Carol. Hi, Sam.
Hey, Carol. Hi, Sandy.
Okay, Catherine, would you like to begin and go over the budget?
It would be my pleasure. Thank you. So I believe you all received our fiscal year 22 budget report, and there are a couple things in there for you to go over. If you'd like me to go over them, I'm more than happy to. We did our letter to both the Town Council and Budget Committee explaining a bit of what we've been up to this past year, and also highlighting some of the events, programs, and services that we've been able to put on during fiscal year 21 and really all of 2020.
Would you like to go over some of the important things with us?
Absolutely, I can definitely do that. Carol and Sandy, if you have anything else to add, I'll be sure to pause as I go through this. So we currently have 5,997 library card holders here at Tiverton Library, and that is just about 38% of the town. We had to do a major pivot, as I'm sure all other departments have had to do over the past year. Our building was closed from March until June, but we were able to reopen in June for limited hours and back to full hours in September. Some of the things that were dependent on us reopening were cleaning supplies. It sounds very, very simple and like something that we could have been able to easily procure, but I'm sure everybody knows just how difficult that was. So in order for us to safely reopen, we were pounding the pavement as far as getting cleaning supplies and PPE goes for our staff to ensure safe reopening. So we're very happy that we're in a great position right now. We are open our full hours, which are Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Our patrons have been thrilled that we're back open, and we found that being open these full hours really works well for us because patrons are able to come in when they feel there aren't, a lot of people congregating, which we never have really had because we have a great amount of space over here, but we're happy that our patrons feel safe and have started to return. We're averaging just over 2,200 patrons per month through our doors, and we're very, very happy with that. We also have numerous curbside and outdoor pickup options available, and homebound delivery service for those who don't feel comfortable coming back into the library yet. We have a lot of virtual programs. We really want to be back to in-person programs soon, but this past year gave us a very, very creative approach to our programs as far as the outdoors goes. We started a story walk program for children and their caregivers. So if you pass by the library, you'll see numerous sort of stanchions sticking up from our library lawn. And we actually take one page of a storybook and post that on each of the stanchions, and parents, caregivers, and children can go through and read the story at their own pace. At the end, they collect a craft to take home. So that has been one of the very popular events we've been able to do. I know I also mentioned in here some take-home craft kits, and really it's been an incredible thing to see how quickly our staff could pivot and how wonderfully they could adapt to the needs of our patrons during this time. So I did mention virtual lectures. We have had, I think our most popular one was one that's called Putting the Garden to Bed, and that was done by URI Master Gardeners. But all of our programs are focused on what can we provide for our patrons that will be educational, enriching, informational, that they can come and have for free from our library. One of the other events that I like to mention is our AARP Tax Aid Volunteer Program. And this is a really wonderful program that has been put on an annual basis. They were cut short a little bit last year. Typically they're here for around 15 to 18 days, depending on when they start and when they finish right around tax day. They were here for 12 days last year. They actually were able to assist 291 individuals in that time prior to our closing, which totaled 233 federal tax returns. So I like to sort of put a number on just how much this saved our patrons, with the average professional filing cost being $188. That saved those folks over $43,000 in total. So we're welcoming this group back again this year, and they are ready and raring to go for next week up until tax day. And we've been able to do this safely. I just have one more thing I'd like to mention. We have been back open on Tuesdays, thanks to the voters of Tiverton, back with our fiscal year 20 budget. And with the circulation statistics and our visiting statistics, we've seen that Tuesdays have been our most popular day of the week. And so we're really happy and would again love to thank the voters of Tiverton for allowing us to do that with our budget that year. Looking forward to 2022, some of our goals we had to readjust. We would have loved to be able to open on Sundays. This was actually the biggest ask from our patrons in both our long range plan survey back in 2018. And we actually did a sort of a mid 5-year plan survey last January. And this again was an ask from our patrons and the top asked item. So we are sort of rethinking that for this year as far as safety goes for our patrons. And instead we are moving on to the second most asked for request, which was the building of our collection. So utilizing funds to build up some areas of our collection that are very well used. And so that is one of the focuses of our fiscal year 22 budget, is to increase our collection line. I'll go over that a little bit more in detail once we get to our actual budget document. And we also are looking forward to really making some more headway on our building projects here. I will also talk a little bit more about that. So really the goals of our fiscal year 22 budget are to continue to provide the fantastic services that we have been doing so for years, and also to increase that collection and really build up areas that need it and again, focus on our building. So Carol, Sandy, do you have anything to add?
Catherine, to kind of go back to last year, a huge point of contention was library repairs. And I was at the library myself looking at stuff. And I see that a lot of it has been done. And it'll make the budget committee very happy, in particular, Mr. Souza. Would you like to go over a little bit of that? Because I know the outside structure was a major problem. And we did do a lot of those repairs. Would you like to talk further on that?
Absolutely. So if you turn to page 12 and 13 of your budget report, I can go into our building maintenance that we've been taking care of over the past year or so.
Please do, because it was brought up very publicly, and I got a lot of concerns on my phone last year. So I'd like the public to know that special attention has been brought to all of this.
Absolutely. So I'll start going over this report that I have here. I actually compiled this over the past couple of weeks, and it covers from January 2020, so right around budget season last year, through present. The previous 18 months prior to that, January 2020, so it would be around September 2018 to January 2020, was in last year's report. That is available upon request. I'm more than happy to give that out. And so I'll start going over some of these here. As you mentioned, President deMedeiros, the siding of the library was one of the most discussed topics last year as far as building maintenance goes. So back in the summer of 2020, between July and August, RT Corp, a local Tiverton business, was awarded the bid for repairs to our siding. So it took them a couple of weeks to go through, and pretty much they caulked the areas that needed the most attention. They did replace a few pieces of siding. There was a car that had driven into the siding by our drive-through, and so pieces like that they had actually taken out and replaced. We also had some painting done outside, window caulking, and nail holes filled as well. We also, the last part of this was the cedar shingling. There was some damage due to bicycles and skateboards, and so that was also repaired on the front. We have also taken measures to ensure that that's not happening again. Our staff have been very proactive about informing those with bicycles and skateboards on our steps that they need to take it back over to the skate park. And we are making sure that they are doing so. Signs have been put up both at the entrance to the library and also closer to where the stairs are to inform them that there's no skateboarding, bicycle riding, scooter riding in that area. There is still just one or two parts of the lower part of the siding, so it's really like a stucco covering. That still has to be repaired. We are looking for a stonemason to do that. So will be, once the weather gets nicer, that will be the big part of that project. So these repairs all told cost $6,200, and that was paid for by the library through our budget. One of the other mentions last year was the cork flooring inside. We had a significant amount of work done on the cork flooring, and what that entailed was Deborah Flooring, who was the original flooring installer, came in and they pulled up the area that really had the most warping and was popping up the most, and they placed a moisture box test there. It was there for a couple of days, and then they came back, and it was determined that there was a normal amount of moisture in the slab in those areas. So what this did for us is told us the adhesive that we would be able to use to better have those pieces stay down. So DebNor came back, they actually replaced some of the areas that were popping up the most, and we ordered extra cartons of the cork flooring so that in the future, DebNor does not have to come back. Our custodian is able to do those repairs in his time that he is already here. So we're prepared for other areas to have that sort of popping up there, and we're able to repair those much quicker this year. Those were some of the major building mentions last year. Is there anything else that you had a question on? And I can go into a little bit more detail about mechanical things that have happened over the past year.
Catherine, just as a side note, I'd like to thank you for all your work on this. You've somehow become a general contractor besides a librarian, and you've built a lot of expertise, and it really wasn't in your job description. I want to thank you for an excellent job and paying attention to everything that was mentioned last year. And I have to reward you for doing that. It was a very, very good job.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. And I couldn't have done it without the support of my board. So thank you.
Councilor Janick, do you have a question?
I do. Excuse me. And Catherine, I so enjoy listening to you. You have done a fabulous job. I know last year on the budget committee, we were talking about some of the issues with the building, and we were wondering if any of it was still under warranty, or if we could get any of the building people to come and look, and if they could replace anything or repair anything at their cost.
That's a great question, and we have looked into it. I'll give you a little bit of background there too. So the builder of the building was B & Brothers, and they had several subcontractors come in, and I have a list of all of them. So we mostly dealt with B & Brothers back in 2019. It was around January through April of 2019. When we had the shelving collapse in the server room, and it was determined that the shelving had not been screwed into the studs. So they came back, they made all the repairs to all of the shelving areas that did not have the shelving screwed into the studs. We were still billed for that. And I had actually worked with Town Administrator Jan Reitzma at the time to fight that bill a little bit, and my board did as well, because it was their mistake in the first place, and yet we were still charged for it. So going forward, they had told us that the building was only under warranty for 1 year. I do believe that if we were to push it farther, then we would need some legal involvement on that front.
So thank you. And I know you did recently receive your master's, and it was in building and repair, I'm guessing, right?
I think that's what public administration stands for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions before we go on to the general budget? Councilor Burk?
Not a question, a statement. I appreciate, Catherine, the thoroughness of your report. And it also looks like you have some items, at least, that I see that are scheduled maintenance items, which is, really good to see. So thank you.
Yes, you're absolutely welcome. If I can just mention those as well. We had quite the year of HVAC repairs. From speaking with our HVAC company, GM Refrigeration, these are normal repairs. It is just that we have 5 units, and so they're going to need that regular maintenance, which we have. But there's also going to be things like sensors that need to be replaced. Transducers and actuators, we had that done this year. I cannot tell you what those do, but if you would like me to, I can prepare for on what those do. Towards the end of this building maintenance report on page 13, I mentioned that we are going to need a new HVAC control system. Over the past year, we noticed an electricity spike, and this has been something that has been very, very long drawn out process of trying to find out what's going on here. We actually had a free energy audit done by National Grid last summer, and it was coming from our HVAC system as far as they could tell. That is the system that sort of pulls the most energy in our building. So what we're going to do is about every 5 years, we're going to need to replace the control system. If you think of it almost like your laptop, after about 3-4 years, your laptop will start to slow down. probably need some software updates. And so this system is exactly like that. This is a normal replacement, and this is on our radar. It's going to be around $9,000 to do that. So that will also give us better control over the different rooftop units, have better, the word I'm looking for is sort of ways to manage the settings between the rooftop units and the zones in our library, rather than just sort of a blanket set point for the entire library. And also, if you know that technology changes. So when this system was installed 6 years ago, there's going to be updates and new things that we're going to be able to do. So we're looking forward to that. We have some cosmetic repairs coming up. We tend to do exterior in the warmer months, interior in the cooler months. And I'm more than happy to talk a little bit more about any building repairs you'd like before I move on.
My only other question is the Union Library, anything there?
So they had their roof replaced. That was entirely funded by the Champlin Foundation, which we're very grateful for, and also a matching donation to what Champlin was able to provide. We do general cosmetic fixes there, but the Union Public Library Association is a fantastic group of volunteers and also donors who fund the majority of the maintenance at that library.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Counselor Edwards, I see your hand up.
Morning, Catherine.
Good morning.
You've had your work cut out for you. I don't know what to say. My big concern is the fact that you are spending unbudgeted money for repairs. This has been going on for way too long. And you have a capital request in for $15,000. Is it going to be enough?
I think it will be. We tend to budget between 7,000 and 8,000 in building maintenance. It was just this past year that we really had the opportunity. The cork flooring without traffic coming through our building was actually probably one of the best projects that we could have gotten done during our closure. So the 7,000 to 8,000 going forward between each budget year is a general amount, but with things like our control system coming up, or the siding or the cork floor, those one-off items, the capital funding would certainly assist with us being able to do that. And 15,000 from capital, I believe, is a sufficient amount at this time.
And I don't know if we can, is there any way to get, how do I put this? When our monthly use of electricity exceeds, let's say, our average, is there any way to get an alert out of National Grid that says you've got a problem?
I wish we could. So
Well,
what we typically
that's
do,
National Grid, yeah.
yes, what we typically do is we track it every month when we receive our bill. So as soon as we receive our bill, the kilowatt hours are entered into a spreadsheet. So we're able to see the past couple of years with that usage.
Okay. I'm a little disappointed that they wouldn't do that on their own, but they're in the business of making money, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions before we move on?
Chris.
So on
Chris
your
has one.
capital
Chris has-
Oh,
projects,
I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Chris. Go ahead.
so on your capital projects, is there any reimbursement like the schools do, like housing aid, does the state reimburse any of those major capital projects?
So if, that's a good question. They will, if it's like a large building project, they specifically have building project capital requests, but it's not really for the maintenance costs. It's more for like.
No, I know, but if you had to replace your roof or something like that, would you like apply to the OLS and give them a parameters and kind of like forecast and budget so that you could get whatever the town would have to be to contribute, but something would come back? In other words, if we paid for it all, is there a reimbursement similar to what the schools do? And it's same thing. I think in the schools, they do major capital projects. There is some reimbursement that comes back. It might be like 20%. I don't know what the numbers are. It's been a while since I've been involved, but I didn't know if the libraries did the same thing.
I will have to double check with
Okay.
OLIS on this, just because sometimes their definition of capital is a bit different from.
No, that's fine.
what
And
ours is.
I wouldn't expect general maintenance to be either. So it
Yeah,
would be just a capital project.
I will definitely get an answer on that and
Okay.
send you and the council a memo.
Oh,
Carol?
Yeah, Chris, I know from my time on the school committee what you're talking about,
Yeah.
and I've never heard of anything similar for libraries. For libraries, it really is adding an addition, building the new library. We benefited greatly from state funds when we built the
Oh, no, I
local
know.
library. But in terms of, updating to meet any kind of new code standards in schools, yes, but I've never heard that for libraries.
Okay. I wouldn't know if I didn't ask. So,
It would be nice.
yep.
Counselor Burke?
Are you at all eligible for applying for funding under the Rhode Island Health and Education Building Corporation?
I don't believe we are.
Okay.
unfortunately.
Counselor
Edwards, did you have your hands up?
yeah, I just have one question and I'll direct it to Chris, because this gave me heart when it propped up last year, and here it is again. We're paying $350 to the water district. And the way this was explained to us last year was it's to cover the cost of testing the fire system. Well, I have tested fire systems, and believe me, you don't use $350 worth of water to do it. So is this something that all businesses get in town get charged? Is this
No,
unique to the library, and how do we get rid of it?
So my long-term understanding of this, because years ago I used to, we had these discussions many times. So the fire department has the ability to, all fire districts have the ability to tax their general customers. And because we're a local government, we don't get taxed. But that doesn't mean that we don't have, in front of some of our municipal areas, water hydrants and things like that need to be maintained, painted, tested. So they would love to charge us a lot more money based on what a commercial enterprise would be, having hydrant systems in front of them. So they've agreed over years to take a stipend to do a very small amount of it. So there's really it's not the volume of water. I think the amount of monies that we give the water districts are very, very minute compared to what their percentage wise would be if they were able to tax us. So it's just been a gentleman's agreement over the years that that's a stipend that we pay to the water districts.
Well, I'm not talking about hydrants, Chris. I'm talking about the $350 line item specific to the library.
So you must have water usage.
Well, they pay that on their water bill.
Yeah, you don't pay any taxes though, I wouldn't think, right? That's just your water usage?
So to clarify for that item, what it is that we do not have a meter on our fire system. So the fire system is tested by Encore on a quarterly basis. I believe they do that specific inspection where they utilize water for it once a year. So the water department charges us a fee for an unmetered line. I believe there are a few other town departments that this has happened to, because this was I believe there are, but.
Okay. I didn't even know you had a standpipe inside the building. So I just assumed you had a hydrant out front.
And the average test of a sprinkler system consumes about 25 gallons of water.
Yeah, but it's a fee structure. I'm sure it's a billing, it's a way for them to generate revenue. So it's, I can talk to them, see if they can waive it, or at least reduce it. But
it's only $350, but it's their $350.
I get that. I'll try to open the door and talk to them.
Thank you.
If I may mention too, we did talk to them about having a meter put on, and it is quite expensive.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, they'll know if the sprinkler system ever really goes off.
Yes.
Any other questions before we move on? All right, so Catherine, your bottom line, you have not increased much this year. 12, the way I figured, 12,500.
That's correct. And the majority of those increases are actually going to be for things like our contracts. So really regular increases. We are looking at things like electricity going up, which, as we all know, National Grid really has us there. Heat, water, all pretty regular things as far as our operating expenses go. The one increase that we were looking to make is to our materials line. We did want to increase that by $2,000. We're still seeing our patrons coming in, checking out a substantial amount of items. So we really feel like that would be put to great use in our library. Also our staff here, we only have a few staff who are actually eligible for increases on a year-to-year basis. Some staff have been here for a long amount of time, so they are at the top of their pay range, so they do not receive increases unless that those pay ranges are updated. Health benefits and retirement, as we all know, are pretty standard increases as well. So our bottom line is that we are asking for $12,500 for fiscal year 22 above what our town appropriation was for this year.
And we talked about with other departments, we've talked about revenues and what specific things that people bring in and whether or not it covers their budget and looking at that. And your revenue is up this year. No, your revenue is a little down, but I would imagine that's because of COVID.
Yes, and also for the past almost year now, the Ocean State Library's Library Consortium has been fine-free from materials for late materials. We're still billing for lost or damaged items, but that like 15 cents per day for books or other reading materials and $1 per day for DVDs, that has not been something that we've been collecting for. Also our room fees, because our rooms are not available to outside groups right now, our room fees are not something that we're collecting at this time.
Does anyone have any questions about the annual budget of the Tiverton Library? Deb?
So I see that you have 3 unfilled, the part-time page positions. I'm assuming they're unfilled because of COVID.
Yes, we also have an unfilled library assistant position as well. And so all of these positions that are unfilled, what happened is that they were vacated sometime during 2020. The library assistant position was due to our technology coordinator leaving. So the individual in that part-time position was promoted to the technology coordinator position. So we left that unfilled to ensure that our funds were being spent on things like building maintenance when we were able to. And the page positions, we did have one page and she went to college. So we did decide not to fill that until we were in a more stable position with COVID and being open.
So do you anticipate, is this budget that you're presented, does that anticipate filling those positions again?
Yes, it does.
So it's covering those positions.
Yes, we are, for lack of a better term, we're very short-staffed right now. And I have that on our library FTE information chart, that typically we need 212 staff hours per week to cover all 4 of our service points here in the library. So that is the main information desk, that is the children's library, the teen library, and also our office that answers the phone, does drive-through services. We are at 167.5 hours per week. So we are down about 75% as far as staff hours go there. So we're hoping that by the summer, we will be ready and raring to go with our programs, in-person services, as far as the room bookings go, and we will definitely need those staff numbers once that happens.
And I hope that happens sooner rather than later for everyone. But I just want to applaud you and the staff and the board, because I think that the programs that you were able to still put out, the creativity has been just tremendous. And for the mental health of our residents who were feeling so isolated during all of this time, it just gives them something to look forward to. It gives them a point of interest, it gives them activities and programs. And I just think it's really been so valuable for our residents during the pandemic and always, but so much more so during this time when you were able to reach out in ways that were comfortable for you and comfortable for our residents. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Much appreciated. And it's our pleasure.
Any other questions from the board? From the council? Any questions regarding their capital request of $15,000? Is it 15? Yes. Any questions concerning that? Okay, so if there's no questions, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the capital request of the Tiverton Library.
So move $15,000 for the capital request.
Second,
So I have a motion by Councilor Edwards and a second by Councilor Janick. All those in favor, Councilor Janick,
yes.
Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Cook,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Now, to move on to entertain a motion to approve the library's annual budget. And that number, I just lost the page. If somebody wants to make a motion.
$597,500.
Page 15.
So moved.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilor Edwards and a second by Councilor Vieira. All those in favor, Councilor Janick,
Yes.
Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Cook,
No.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So 6 yes, 1 no. Thank you for spending Saturday mornings with us. I appreciate your time and coming in today. Councilor Vieira, did you want to say something?
No, I was just saying thank you for everything
Okay.
you do. I've fallen asleep many a time by the fireplace, waiting for my daughter to come out of the library, dance across the street. You've saved me hundreds of dollars on my books through Ocean State. So thank you and have a good year.
Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome. And
Thank
thank you
you.
all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you.
everybody. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
weekend.
Thank you.
Moving on, I see that Bruce is with us. Good morning, Bruce.
Good morning. How
The harbor, we're very good, thank you. The harbor master was here, as you know, last week and went over his budget. And he did talk a little bit about some of your capital requests. And we did approve them. Is there anything you would like to add to what we've done?
I was not aware of the meeting last week, knowing I did not get notice of it. I apologize for not attending.
Oh, that's fine, Bruce. We're doing this very quick and, you know, sometimes human error, we forget to notify
Absolutely,
people.
no problem. Well, and I think it was Bill Vieira who gave me a heads up, but at any rate, I understood that there was some questions about our water sampling request, and I thought Chip Lawrence was going to be joining us. He may be.
He is.
think he's
I
here.
didn't know who that was. Hang on. He's here.
Okay. Good morning, Chip. He's still muted. But at any rate, he was our spearhead for our water testing program that we had done for several years recently. Here's Chip. And he felt there's been a change at one site, and we want to quantify what that change, if that change in fact changed the water quality to the better. Chip, can you unmute yourself and explain the rationale behind our request?
You should be able to hear me now, yes?
Yes, you gotta move your microphone, maybe. Just barely hear you.
Okay,
That's good.
I can do this.
Far better.
Okay. All right, so Powhatan Marsh for a long time was heavily polluted by cattle that were on the end of the marsh. And that came into the marsh. We took water samples over a number of years, we found them above both the swimming and the shellfishing near the bridge. You may know near the bridge is a little place you can get to the water. That's where I took the samples. So then I came across, I live across the street from the bridge. I can see it from my house. I took samples there. While they were just above the level there, up in the high, 50s, 60s, something like that. Come across to my house, they were in the hundreds, consistently in the hundreds over a number of years. Walk across the marsh just below where the farm was, now they're in thousands. So it was heavily polluted. Dissolved oxygen was low. So now the farmer stopped putting cattle there 3 or 4 years ago. He just, ended his cattle. There's still a few horses there. So there's much less potential pollution coming from that farm. I don't know. I do expect we'll find the bacterial levels are down, and that might lead to the dissolved oxygen. I know the town's budget is tight, so I've been communicating with URI. So this is through the URI Watershed Watch program. And we could take just the bacterial samples for, instead of whatever our request was, down for about $250 in that order, so in hundreds. So if we got the bacteria and they were low, we wouldn't get the dissolved oxygen, but at least we'd know that the bacteria had decreased. So that's what our budget request is. I'd like to do the whole thing, get the whole sample, but we can do it for substantially less money.
So, so what I'm to understand is your water quality testing would go from 1,800 to 250.
Yes.
Bruce, is that okay with you?
Well, the benefit of getting the dissolved oxygen is a direct indicator of the survivability of the water by fish and other animals. So if we can find a way to do the dissolved oxygen, I think I don't know, Chip, what would you, if you, at that one site, would it still be $1,800 to do that one site with dissolved oxygen and the bacteria?
I can check with that. They've been pretty flexible with me. Watershed Watch program. And we could take just the bacterial samples.
Something's going wrong with your system.
Something's going wrong.
Whatever our request was, down for about $250.
No, you're still not working.
I don't know if anybody can hear what I'm hearing. I'm hearing the meeting.
Yeah, it's like a repeat echo.
Repeat, yes. I am too.
Somebody's watching the YouTube in the background somewhere.
Is anybody doing that? It
I
stopped.
don't know how.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I guess I would know how, but I'm not doing it.
If I'm doing it, I don't know I'm doing it.
It stopped. So if somebody was doing it, it has stopped.
Yeah.
But Chip is on mute.
Chip, you're muted again.
Yes.
Is that okay with you?
I don't have my,
Yeah, I can hear it. I can still hear it.
Yeah,
I
I
can
am as
too.
well.
Chris, can you go there?
It's like a delay.
I've never heard it before.
Go ahead, Chip.
Chip, we still can't hear you.
somebody have his phone number.
Oh, we've lost Chip.
He's checking it out.
Okay, is anybody doing this?
Doing what?
You can't
Streaming
hear that?
in the background.
I'm not hearing any of that.
I hear it, but I'm by myself with just this computer.
Okay, Donna.
I wouldn't know how to do two things.
No, I'm not accusing you, Donna. I'm so proud you've gotten this far. So it's,
Yeah, really. Nothing extra.
Somebody's watching the YouTube in the background somewhere.
Yeah, I'm hearing all kinds of echoes now.
Whole party in the background.
Now I'm hearing Bill talking.
It's
in the
like a
background.
time warp with a long delay.
Chip, are you with us? No,
Oh, God. Yeah,
he'll
well,
figure it out.
Yeah.
He will.
Well, can I make a motion?
Can I ask a question first?
Well, we can have a motion and then discussion. Why don't we do it that way? So Dr.
I'll make a motion for the water quality testing to be at $250. As Chip explained to us, it would be more affordable, yet would get the bacteria count that we want. And I guess it's taken to URI would be willing to do that.
I'll second it.
Joe Perry seconded it. Discussion. Who wanted to ask a question? Bill. We'll do Bill first. Go ahead, Bill.
Either to Bruce, because Chip is still having technical difficulties. We
Right.
seem to be having a lot of these farms blow up along the Spout, these oyster farms. Does the oxygen levels, would that affect those oyster farms going up Spout?
If you decrease the oysters are wonderful filter feeders. They are actually great things to have in your water. They clean the water quite effectively. There is one new proposed oyster farm off Spout. It's just a little bit to the south of the existing one. It's now going to the council. It's on our agenda to give it our formal green light recommendation to the council. And the dissolved, a lack of oxygen is not good for any critter. And that's to answer your question. And so part of what the goal is with regards to retesting is to try to confirm what we think is the source point. And if indeed the bacteria is still high, is there something we can do is that the source point, or should we be looking elsewhere? Should we be looking at a failed septic system somewhere? It's always possible. There are houses generally in that area, but there was a pretty clear indicator. And under the Right to Farm Act, you could not force the farmer to do anything. You could only encourage them, and whoever that person was not encourageable.
Council Edwards.
Bruce, this came up in spades last year, and you brought that point up with the Right to Farm Act. However, you indicated that this particular farmer has changed his ways. Is that something that testing has encouraged, or has he just decided to use his property differently?
I had no idea. I think I understand that he's maybe sold the farm or he's gone away. I don't know. I don't know the basis for this change.
Well, the other part of this too is, personally, I think we should keep after this kind of stuff. And $1,800 to do the testing is really not a lot. And as Bill was mentioning, is oyster farming. Well, I wouldn't even call it that. I'll call it aquaculture increases. It's going to be more important that we keep track of it. I can't believe that at some point in the future, as time goes on, even the Right to Farm Act is going to have to yield a little bit to massive water pollution. It can't go on forever, and they can't be encouraged forever. And if we don't have our ducks in a row and know where the pollution sources are and how severe they are, we won't be in a position to join in that conversation.
Any other questions, Bill?
One other question. I'm kind of new to this, Bruce. I know the DEM, they do water level testing. Is this something that DEM might have caught, could have caught? Is this something that Chip caught before the DEM, or is that something that DEM doesn't test for? Thank you.
Well, DEM tests for it. Now, Chip has greater details on that. And I wish Chip, still muted, Chip. Well, the other part of this But while DEM does test, they don't test site specifics like we went. We were very clear with site specifics off the marsh there. We did work in the Nanaquacket Pond and across in the Cinnamon Flash Brook area. And indeed, we were going up that brook because we felt we knew where there's a source, but we had too many dry summers that it became irrelevant in terms of trying to find the source up there. We think we knew where it was, but we don't know. And so I can't say, gee, we're guessing it's this person. I don't want to disparage or I don't want to slander somebody with our guests. Certainly not on a live Zoom meeting, but the program was successful from the standpoint of identifying what the water qualities were and whatnot. This is the last step, I think, trying to confirm that farm was the source. And that may very well, if it's not the source, then we can start looking around elsewhere. It's one of those, first you have to establish a level that's a standing level, and then you move on from there to try to improve it.
Or is that something that DEM doesn't test for?
Okay, so did we lose somebody? We lost Chip. Oh no, that's Chip.
Chip's here.
He just
And he
moved.
just changed his, yeah.
Moved.
I was really liking the way it was before I had all the councilors in a row. Chip, can you hear me? But we can't hear you. We're sorry, Chip. This is what happens in Zoom world.
I have a question because I know we ended up not even having that line item for this fiscal year. So did we not have testing done?
That's correct. This past year, we didn't do any testing.
Okay.
Status quo hadn't changed, and so we didn't feel the need to spend the money and a considerable amount of time that Chip puts into, he requires them to go take water samples at a particular time and get those water samples to URI and so on and so forth. So it's quite an effort that he puts into it. And now that he's semi-retired, he's got more time on his hands. I hope we'll be hearing from you about our program on sea level rise. Chip has quite a program. The presentation we did on that the other night, a February meeting was focused on that. And it's an issue that the town, given the level of the town in general, has really got to be ready to address.
It was an amazing presentation. So hopefully after the budget is done, we can start getting into some other areas.
We lost Chip. Okay, so I do have a motion on the floor right now to bring the water quality testing to 250. And I have a second. I'd like to vote on that. If there's any further discussion, then I'll vote on the line. Then we'll go from there. All those. This is what happens in Zoom world. All those in favor, Councilor Janick? So it's for the 250 to decrease 1,800 to 250.
Yes.
Councilor Edwards?
No.
Councilor Vieira?
Yes.
Councilor Cook, put on you're on mute, but I think I just read your lips as yes. Yeah, she's saying yes. Councilor Burk? You're on mute also, Mike.
I'll say yes, although I prefer the higher number.
Councilor Perry?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So I need the Harbor and Coastal Management, I need to entertain a motion to make their request $550.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So motion made by Councilor Vieira, seconded by Councilor Janick. Any further discussion?
I'm sorry, I didn't, what was $550?
Their bottom line, Donna. So it's the 300 for DEM water quality certificate and 250 for water quality testing, which comes to 550.
Okay, yes.
Councilor Burke?
You're muted.
Yes.
Councilor
Yes.
Did I forget anybody beside myself? No. And I'm a yes.
I don't know if I said yes. Did
I
I?
thought I went to
No.
yes. Yeah, you all changed it. Like, yeah, okay. So it's you.
Yes.
I'm a reluctant yes.
I'm reluctant also, but yes.
Okay. So, so it's a yes. Now, Bruce, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
I've been getting some phone calls
I prefer the higher.
since the other night on the waterfront infrastructure Stonebridge dock. We did approve it. What is your opinion on that, and what do you think the usage would be for?
Well, the Stonebridge dock, that would be, could you be utilized for both the harbor master and the fire department's vessels could be tied up there. It would also encourage more visiting yachts to be able to come to Tiverton, and for Tiverton citizens to be able to get out to their boats. It's an asset that's very cheap on its cost compared to benefit ratio. We have the floats, we have the base system in place. We have to do minor modifications on the wall itself to be able to get there. I personally believe we might even be able to get a I'm going to call it street legal, a proper handicap ramp to get at least the upper level of the dock, where the standing platform is. I think we have enough distance to get a 12 to 1 pitch there from the Stonebridge ramp area. That's I've sent letters to the DPW. I have not heard back from him. It's admittedly been a rather wild winter thus far, with snow and rain and then flooding and everything else going on. But they have the systems, the floats are there. We think we can actually get enough volunteer assistance to get a lot of it done, installed in place. And it's an asset that's just sitting there begging to be used.
Now, Bruce, the question I've been asked is, could we put the 2 town boats there and still have room for recreational people to come in?
We have a number of float lengths, if you will. The floats, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. I was anticipating this conversation.
Well, I'm sorry. No, it's
right. No. But the point is, I do know that there are, I believe, 3 floats of length, and the boats for the harbor master and the fire would take 1 length each. In other words, one side of 1 float could be used for each of the 2 boats, or they can boat them both on the outermost float, and then people use the inner float. So I believe it would, in fact, be able to handle both boats without a problem.
all right. Thank you. We have approved it, by the way, but since that meeting, some citizens have called me, so I think you've answered their questions, and I think you did it.
Well,
several of the people that called me, they'll be happy about what you just said.
Okay, good. I'll add it to my March agenda. You said you approved a capital budget for the dock system?
Yes, we did.
Yes. Great. I was concerned with all the COVID issues that wasn't going to fly. Great.
Well, what we did, Bruce, and I don't know if you probably haven't seen what we've been doing. We had over $500 in our capital reserve. So what the council decided was to take 400 and change out of there, and buy some things and support some things without putting it in the general budget and taxing people. So this was one of our $400,000 items we put in there.
Oh, wonderful. So you had 500. Great. Thank you.
As was the trailer for
Yeah.
the harbor master's boat.
Excellent.
Okay. All right. Well, yes.
I just have one question for Bruce. Since you mentioned a couple of times that maybe the harbor master boat and maybe the fire department boat could be utilized there.
Right.
Even though the harbor master indicated he really wouldn't want to do that. Do we have, or how hard will it be to get video surveillance? I don't want to find out that the boat's got sunk by some idiot.
Yeah. I don't believe there's any video surveillance out there now, but I've been told by people friends and clients that are hunters, that video cameras are $50 a pop, and you can have them tied into your cell phone. You know, when they set them up to watch, deer tracks, deer runs, and whatnot. So I don't think it would be hard to set up a video setup there. Obviously, there's always a risk that that would in turn be vandalized, but you could put them in adequately strained cages and such. I gotta believe you could have a video monitored.
And I wouldn't worry about it unless they actively started doing that. Then it might become an issue.
Right.
So there is video there, Jay, now.
Yeah,
Oh, is there?
I was just gonna say there, isn't there video
I
there
didn't
now?
know.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, it's tied into the police department?
Yeah, that had to do with the whole Grinnell Beach project and the Stonebridge project. There is video on that whole property.
And that's good to know.
Yeah, and the dispatchers have actually seen some interesting things go on there, so.
Well, no, and it could be adjusted to do coverage of specific areas, I'm sure.
Yes.
All right, any other questions from anyone? All right, well, Bruce and Chip, I'm sorry, we didn't hear everything you had to say, but what you did say was very informational and helped us a lot, so thank you. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Have a nice weekend, and thank you for spending Saturday morning with us.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks,
for all the
guys.
volunteer efforts. I appreciate it.
Okay, so the is the senior center director with us?
Those voices stopped.
Yeah, it was Bruce.
It was Bruce.
I think so, Chris. I
know it
think
was
when
Bruce.
when he muted himself, we didn't hear it, but I didn't want him to feel bad. But I think, so Bruce obviously knows how to use YouTube.
So no, Janet is not here.
Could we try to call her and maybe she could jump on? I don't know what she's doing.
Enjoying Saturday shoveling snow.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't everybody else on Zoom?
She lives north somewhere.
I don't know if we can do her. I'd like to do her today.
I can't believe that everyone's not just watching us on Saturday
I
morning.
feel so alone.
Almost the afternoon.
Yeah, Donna.
Denise.
And
Yeah.
Donna drove all the way here.
Yeah, I went way out of my way.
So Chris, I imagine that Chris is trying to get in touch with Janet. But there's also economic development commissions and the boards and commissions. So if we want to turn to that page, which somebody help me and tell me what page that's in.
14.
14.
Okay, I'm sorry. My dining room table is so full of things. So economic development should probably be, they have asked for 500 for supplies. The last time they asked for more than that was when they did the brochures. And I don't know if any of you have seen the brochure, but it's very nice. So all they've asked for is $500 for supplies. Chris is on. Is there any questions about the Economic Development Commission? Me and Chris may be able to answer. Donna?
I have a question. Granted, the brochures have been given out. They were nice. So we're not paying for that anymore. But what I don't understand is supplies went from 300 to 500. Why?
That was their request. We gave it to them last year, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but it has to make sense. I mean, I don't.
Oh, I know, and I think they spoke on it last year. Chris, can you shed any light on this? Or Jay or Deb, if you remember last year?
I'm drawing a blank.
I don't.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank too, and I don't know why. Chris, you're on mute.
What's the line item?
$6,200.
6,200.
Thank you. See,
Any, Chris, you're on mute. I don't know if you're trying to talk.
Sorry. Part of their request is, there's a $200 request for the North Tiverton garden maintenance. And then they also have reprinting of the pamphlets at $250.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that we could look in the book.
So they requested 797, and I must have knocked it down to 500 based on past history.
Garden?
I was just going to question that. What's the garden?
I have no idea. That's probably why I didn't.
I don't get it.
was it a garden or a garden club, Chris? I forget what you said.
It just says North Tiverton Garden. Hang on a minute. I can find it again.
North Tiverton
I
Garden.
know where that is, but I didn't think that they were.
Where is it, Denise?
Well, this is where I want to say it is, but I might be wrong. I want to say it's right near, I'm trying to think of a landmark you would all know. Deb, help me on this. Do you remember?
No, I don't remember a garden being associated with them.
No, it's not associated with them. I think it's with the garden club.
Well, they're already getting money. I don't.
Yeah, I might be. I don't know what that line item is.
Can we bring them?
It's
Go
not
ahead.
that. It's not that farm that they're soliciting
Let me
people to
ask Renee
plant.
into the
Yeah, let's see if Renee will come in.
Is it the islands at the end of the exit near the police station, and then the other island at the end of
24,
24?
the ramp.
Those two little islands there?
I don't, that is under, that's the garden club. I know that for a fact. Because a couple of years ago, me and another counselor were asked to give some, were asked to help with that. So that was the garden club.
Does the garden club just plant
Well, they
it?
don't go into economic development. I don't even see. The garden club isn't even under boards and commissions, if you notice.
It's under civic appropriations for some
Oh, okay,
reason.
it's way over there. Okay. I don't know what that is. Well, Chris took it out anyway, I believe.
Well, Chris reduced it to 500 from what he said they asked for 797.
So what I'm looking at, and I don't know if you all have your budget book, but it said paper printer ink, $96, postcards, $252, post stamps, $270, letter mail is $174, postage for letter mail is $55, and reprinting business pamphlets, $250. And then North Tiverton guidance maintenance, $200. Wait a minute, I might. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, that's what it is. It's the Middle Avenue gazebo.
Oh. So let me, okay. I did have a conversation with Martin Van Hoff on yesterday. And he had mentioned that there's some local folks in the neighborhood did a lot of repairs to the gazebo and fixed it up. But it is a town operated gazebo. It is town property, I guess. And the EDC had talked about, us, the town should take over the responsibility for the gazebo. So I didn't associate the two because the language didn't connect. So my guess is that that's related to gazebo maintenance.
Yeah, and she writes here, the gazebo is an historical landmark that has been the setting for weddings, graduations, and band concerts. Unfortunately, it's become clear that the roof of the gazebo needs repair. Recently, we asked a contractor to give us an idea of what it would take to repair the roof with historical appropriate materials. The estimate is included with the document. As a member of the neighborhood group, I was wondering if there's something that we could be added to the EDC budget for the upcoming year, or if there was an alternative to handle the cost of the restoration. I guess, again, this would be something that would be brought to the town council, but felt it was something that we should consider. Well, my opinion is it shouldn't be part of the EDC.
No.
I think it's kind of stretching it. And I do think that if Renee and her group want to come to the town council, and I hope she's listening, and ask for this money that we can appropriate from somewhere, then we can consider it that way. But I don't think it should be part of the EDC. But I do encourage them to come and speak to us, and we may be able to do that. I have to tell you, as a longtime resident here, I think that gazebo has been a landmark, and it's been something that has been used a lot by the town people. So it may be something that we can consider, but I don't think we should take it out of the EDC or
Shouldn't it be
in their budget.
Shouldn't it be under capital?
It could be under capital, or Donna, quite frankly, it's a $200 line item. We may be able to get it from this year's budget with some leftover funds, and we wouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
So I think that Joan or I could reach out to Renee and ask if her group would like to come and speak at a town council meeting. And then at that point, we can consider it. Like I said, it's a $200 line item. And I'm pretty sure that Chris and I and some of the department heads could figure out how to find that money. Councilor Edwards, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Well, I can't imagine that $200 is going to replace or even fix the roof on a historical landmark, but it seems more appropriate that this should be in building maintenance of some sort.
Well, I think we could probably fund it this year and not even have it part of the budget. I think if she comes to us, they're saying it's $200, and I'm reading more. If it is in your book, guys, so
Yep.
They did get an estimate, it looks like, which is interesting, but that neighborhood tends to do a lot of their repairs. So I'm not quite sure if that 200 is maybe for a contractor and they'll finish it off. You never know. They're very civic minded down that area. And they have done a lot with that gazebo in the past. So they're asking for 200. And if it costs more than that, I bet you they're doing a lot of the work themselves. So that line item of 500, I just went over a lot of what they're asking for. So if we would like, I'd like to entertain a motion.
I moved $500 for the EDC.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilor Edwards and a second by Councilor Burke. All those in favor, Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
Councilor Cook,
Yes.
Councilor Janick,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, unanimous. Did we get in touch with the senior center director?
I did not.
Well, we'll go back there because that is not a huge increase, and we might be able to talk about. Well, let's go there. So, Senior Service Center. I'm looking at the backup we received from them. I don't know if we have. Yes. So, if you notice, Chris, that increase in salary, is that already approved or is that part of an evaluation?
So I put the director's salary back to level because we haven't done anything for her, but the other one is the ASME contract.
Okay, so we have to subtract the difference?
No, in your 217, it's
Oh,
level.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm not looking at that. All right, so what is your bottom line, Chris?
My bottom line is 123,550.
123,550, which is an increase.
So in 2,000 of it, she put into the bus, which, you know, in FY '22, hopefully we are running it, but right now we're not running it. So she wanted to get it back to somewhere where it was close to, she was at 16.5 before we started shutting it down.
Okay, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that we'll be able to do that.
Well, I'm hoping by the late spring, we should be able to start to open that bus back up again and use it. She's asked me a number of times for specific purposes to use it, but I don't want to make it selective that we're treating people unfairly by using it for some people and not others. So if we're going to open it, we're going to open it back up and, you know, just go on it. We would have to limit the use, but right now I'm not at all comfortable opening up that bus service yet.
Okay, so everything else has been level funded except for that.
Yeah, there's a nominal increase in the assistant director, which would be based on the ASME contract for part-time. So everything else is fairly level.
Okay, is there any?
And there is, I took the $500 out in seminars because quite frankly, nobody's going to seminars right now, but.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions or concerns? Okay, so I'd like to entertain a motion for the senior citizens service. And if Janet has anything else to add, she can certainly tell us.
So moved. I'll make the motion.
Okay,
Second.
and the number is, does somebody have the more recent number?
123.
123,550.
Okay, so I have a second from Councilor Burke. Do I have any questions? All those in favor, Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
Councilor Cook,
Yes.
Councilor Janick,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
So she does have a capital request.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna let her speak to this.
What? Chris?
I'm gonna let Rick speak to this because he knows more about the capital request than I do.
All right, where is Rick?
He's coming in now.
Oh yeah, he has to do the whole telephone thing.
Why isn't he out plowing?
It's not snowing.
I have to tell you that I was out this morning. The roads are really nice, Rick.
They're great.
Yeah, I was out also. They were great.
Thank you.
Most of the streets are down to pavement. Okay, Rick, you want to talk about the senior center capital request?
Yes, and also, as requested, Denise, we did take a look at the windows that Joe Souza had mentioned, and they seem to be performing fine. In the capital request itself, I have 10,000 in there for various items such as siding, basement work, some patching. Janet would like to, and I did meet with her yesterday. Janet would like to do all the siding and she would like to do the vinyl siding. Same on the north, east, and west, similar to the siding that was installed on the south side. There would be the possibility of doing a more shingle looking siding, but it'd still be siding on the north side, which is the front side, which is more aesthetically pleasing to some people. So there is prices from basically 28,000 to 30,400. With that would have to be an additional, additional amount, given to the senior center for that, or you would have to do it in sections. You don't get as much bang for your buck when you do it in sections. You get a better job and a better price overall when you do the whole job. But that's up to the town council and the budget committee, of course, to decide.
Rick, I have to apologize. I don't know if you've all noticed, but I disappeared. I froze for a little while. I just came back.
Oh.
So what are you saying? The senior center renovation, I believe the request's
$10,000.
10,000.
So I didn't realize this, but Janet had put the list of the siding to be done, but she never put any pricing on it. So she was going to wait until her hearing to actually discuss it. And it's about 27 to 20, I would say 30,000 is the max, but
Additional?
yeah, additional. That's the 10,000 is what Rick had anticipated on his staff doing work inside that building, either in the basement or some, you know, some items around the outside of the building, but it wasn't siding the building. So that financial number never came to me, even though it was described in her budget. There was no number to it.
And if I may clarify, the DPW numbers included some siding, but it was also other items, but it wasn't for all the siding. Janet received a quote from the contractor that did the south side siding, and they did a very good job, and she's happy with it. And that came in around 30,000 or 28,000, depending on what version of siding you put on the north side. And one thing I was saying when you blanked out, Denise, was you get a better job overall and a better price if you do it all at the same time. But again, it would be a $30,000 item versus, or 30,400 versus the 10,000. But the 10,000, as I do it on my backup, it doesn't have to be done this fiscal year. So you could put off some of those items and do the siding this year, but you'd have to increase the amount.
Now,
Hi.
you probably answered this question, but when I froze, or you covered it. Is this absolutely necessary? Is this hurting the integrity of the building? Or is this cosmetic?
Cosmetic.
Well, it's more than cosmetic, but it's not vital this fiscal year coming up. It's a good thing to do. It's a proactive thing to do. It certainly would help the integrity of the building, but the siding will not fail. The existing siding will not fail if it's not done this year. You could do a smaller chunk or smaller repairs or smaller items than doing the whole 30,000. It's a good investment to do the 30,000, but it's not mandatory.
Mike?
So Rick, I just want to be clear, the 30,400 is for just the north side, or is that inclusive of the two east and west sides?
Yes, Mike, it's the north side, the east side, and the west side. And includes the soffit and gutters also. The only difference between the 27,850 and the 30,400 is you would have a cedar shingle looking siding on the north side.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's important, but I don't know if I want to increase the budget for it. Unless we want to consider not doing something else out of the 400,000 capital. I don't know. I don't know what my opinion, we've done. I just want the council who hasn't been here to realize we've done a lot of improvements to that building in the last couple of years, more so than any other building we own, I think. Maybe besides the library. And I think we could put this off for one more year, considering we're doing a lot of other things. But we have done a lot of things to that building that weren't cosmetics. It was necessary. It was roof and windows. So in my opinion, we could put this off this year and keep this in mind as on our plan for next. Councilor Janick?
Well, Janet also has repave parking lot and update the telephone system. Is any of that included in this $10,000? That's on the, no?
No.
So that's all additional.
But I believe most all that can wait. The phone system shouldn't be that big of a lift we might be able to absorb that this year through some adjustments of budgets. She's got money in the bus count that's not being used right now that we could probably use to do the phone system. So, I don't know by the end of the year, if we take a look, what's again, still left in that bus account, if there's, I don't know how much paving needs to be done there. I'm gonna have Rick go out and take a look.
And
But,
take a look to see if it's safe too,
Yeah,
Well, could we do that? If, would that be done by our DPW?
we'd probably use the contractor that we use to do the general
Mhm.
paving.
Okay. Yeah, she didn't put a price tag on any of this.
Yeah.
I really think that we should hold off,
I
but
do
that's up
too.
to all of you. Anyone else? Donna?
Yeah, I agree that it should be held off. I'm also, I just wondering that seems pretty high, that amount of money for the siding could we go to bid again and see if we could get it down?
I would say at that price, you would have to go out to bid. I wouldn't be comfortable.
Yeah, you would have to go out to bid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just an estimate. That's just an estimate.
The estimate seems high to me.
Yeah, Donna, this has to go out for bid. Just, I mean, she got an estimate of what it would cost, but we'd have to go out for bid on this.
Yeah, how much was it for the south side? I saw them doing it. It does look nice, but how much was it?
So that was also part of a roof project, if I remember right.
Oh, roof. All right.
But I don't know what those quotes came in. I do know she came in within budget. She actually had some excess monies left in that contract because she wanted to use because the fact that we didn't use the bus last year, last fiscal year, she wanted to combine those funds with what was ever left over to continue doing the siding by extending the contract. And I was, again, uncomfortable doing that at that time because I wasn't really sure where all the budgets were going to wind up. I didn't know how we were going to wind up with the year overall. So I wouldn't, I wasn't going to commit to that project if I still took all the other ones off the table.
All right. Well, I'm in favor of putting it off. It's not.
I think we could get by for a year, at least see what the gaming revenue is doing. And that
Not
would
a pressing
be
issue.
appropriate.
It's not a crisis. It's.
But do we want to do the $10,000?
And what's the 10,000 for?
Rick?
Rick can give us a better idea what that's about.
Sure, thank you. The 10,000 could be used for some siding. It could also be used for some pavement patching, not the whole paving. And it could be used for basement work. It could be for some repairs on corner boards or actually for the concrete floor in the basement. The 10,000 there's like 18,800, of which a portion of that includes the 30,000 because I had some siding in there. But that's over a span of 2-3 years. So the 10,000 could be used, for instance, for some work in the basement, or it could be used to side, say, the east side or the west side, but not the whole senior center. So the 10,000 is sort of a catch-all for the various items that were listed. And also, if I may ask, Denise, before you froze, did you hear the answer to your question of Thursday night for the window check?
Yeah, that was right before I froze. I do want to explain to the rest of the council that Joe Souza did ask Rick that question with the windows and whether or not the windows were okay. That is what Rick is talking about. And thank you, Rick, for remembering that and going out and checking.
No problem.
Donna?
All right, one more question for Rick. So out of the $10,000, is that going to take care of all of those that you listed? The basement and or do you have priorities for that and then you'll have to come back for more money for the others? Is it for everything?
No, Donna, that was more along the lines of over a span of 2 or 3 years. For instance, the basement floor would be around $4,000. To remove the asbestos in the basement would be around $6,000. To do a little bit of siding would be anywhere from $6,000 to $8,000 if you did the small wall. And you could also do a little pavement patching or corner board work, and those things would be along the lines of anywhere from a couple of hundred to a couple of thousand. So it's just a proactive look at what could be done in the next couple of years.
Rick, I would put off the siding and do that as one project and
I
go
would
out for bid for that. And I just want to remind everybody that we did give $10,000 to the town hall for renovations for the DPW. And my thought process was, we've been criticized for not maintaining these buildings. So 10,000 this year to do little projects and get some of our stuff done would be on a good road to maintaining our buildings the way they should be. So we did give 10,000 to each of the others. So I think it's appropriate to give 10,000 to this project. And like I said, Rick, I would put off the siding and maybe put that in next year's budget. We'll go out for bid and get some pricing on that. And then you could do the patchwork on the pavement. You could do some improvements on the cellar that you've mentioned. I know the cellar is used. That's my opinion. Does anyone else want to add to that?
I'm
Mike?
fine.
I would just make a motion that we approve $10,000 from the capital for senior center renovation, not to include siding.
And that would be a capital request. That wouldn't
Capital
come out of the
request.
capital. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
To the docket.
Deb?
I second that.
Okay. All those in favor, Council Edwards?
Yes.
Council Vieira?
Yes.
Councilor Burke?
Yes.
I was gonna say Councilor Carter, because I'm going in line. Councilor Cook?
Yes.
Councilor Janick?
Yes.
Councilor Perry?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. While we have Rick on the line, I'd like to move F4 up above the rest of these for now so that Rick can go home and spend some time plowing today. So Rick, do I have a motion to move 4F up?
So moved. Jay has it.
Second.
Second, Jay.
There you go.
All those in favor, let's just do it by hand right now because it's not, yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm off because something happened to my video, but I'll figure that out. All right, so Rick, Public Works Department, we already went over all this with you. Does anyone else have any further questions? We did approve your capital. So I'm looking for the pages.
And I would do two clarifications when you would allow such, Denise.
Okay.
At the budget meeting, John Edwards did mention about the clothing allowance and the winter jacket. And I did look into that, and he is correct. So it would be any bargaining unit member would be entitled to the jacket when they start, but we still think that the number would be covered in the 1840. So I'm not worried about that. The other item was the curbside trash and recycle pickup. Looking at that further with Chris, that number should be 729,200.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we? We're on page 10.
Page 12.
Page 12.
Page 12, line item 5,500.
Well, yeah.
Just give me a moment.
So you just saved us on just under $30,000.
It is. I
Well,
had
20.
I'd used the last 6 months of the year, which was where the increase is over the next 12 months.
Yeah, when John brought that up, I was wondering if that was correct the other night.
Yeah, it is lower.
Good.
So we will adjust.
729,200 or 300?
729,200.
Thank you.
Okay, so the question I have is paving. Do we want to put $750,000 in there?
What do we have in that account now?
I can look, but it's gonna take me a second.
Because we did,
It's like 107.
I think it's 120 offhand, but I'm not sure.
Paving,
Last-
I see 186,993.
All right, so that's what we have in there now.
But that was June 30th.
That was June 30th, yes.
So, no, I think Denise gave us better numbers, didn't she?
This is from Denise's handout.
Okay. So Rick, from June 30th until now, I imagine you've done some paving?
No, we haven't done
Oh.
any paving in the autumn. That would be in the spring if we're allowed to do so, and I imagine we are. We have used that money so far for simply drainage items, not any paving. Paving, we would go out to the low bidder that was renewed back in June or something like that, and he would be able to do a couple of projects. Nothing along the lines of what we did last year, where we spent maybe 600,000. But we'd be able to do a couple of small projects with the 130 or so that we would have.
Okay, so Rick, right now we have 180 in there. So
Yeah.
do you have any major projects that have to be done in the spring?
Well,
That have to be.
Well, it's a relative term, has to be done this spring. There's lots of roads, we get a lot of complaints, but we are still finalizing our pavement schedule, and then we would also have to go out with the contractor, so he would be able to give estimates. Even though it's done on a bid, he's the expert that knows more accurately than we do what it would cost to do a project. So there's quite a few that could use paving, but nothing is falling apart to the extent that it's unsafe. It's just long-term care and the fact that there's many potholes or deficits in the pavement.
So Rick, if we give you an additional 200,000, which would bring you to 380 to spend, could you get some done? You could.
In this fiscal year, Denise?
Next fiscal. So spring, you're only spending the 180 because you have nothing else. That's what you're saying.
Right, and we wouldn't be able to spend the 180 because we have to keep a little in reserve for a cushion for when the estimates might go over, even though it's a bid job. It's done by the ton or the square yard, et cetera, depending on what item it is. We also have to keep some there for drainage that we need to do near the end, like May, June, along with patching with hot mix or cold patch.
So the money that we're allocating right now would be for the fall and next spring.
That is correct.
In all likelihood, the next spring.
So your question answered what I was going to ask.
Okay. So I really think that we shouldn't, I think 750 is way too high.
What about
Right
what
now.
about 500?
I don't know, what's everyone else's thought? Does anyone have any
I'm just
thoughts?
trying to, do we still have the resolution?
That's what I was just looking for.
Okay.
Got them right here.
That's what I was looking, yeah.
If, I don't know if we do, but if we don't, keep in mind, we might want to do that next time.
Okay, so we
I'm just wondering
have,
what's gonna go in for this
Right.
year.
Right.
hang
I
on
don't
a
know if
minute,
we
I'm
do.
reading quick.
I have it somewhere.
Okay, the account, funds remaining, nope. Okay, so we still have any unencumbered funds as of June 30th will be returned to the general fund with the exception of Public Works Department unencumbered funds, which will be placed in the drainage, paving, curbing, and drainage. But that's the only one, and I don't expect Rick's going to have any money left over.
Believe it or not, he does.
Well, not a lot,
Right.
maybe $25,000, something.
He called you.
Remember, last year, we got rid of pretty much any resolution that would take money away from the general fund.
Right.
Right, but the deep, but we've always had that one.
Yeah, we've always
We've
had
always
that
had
one.
that one, but we
We've had
took
other
out,
ones.
we took out the one that was 25% of
Right.
all available leftover would go into that fund.
We took that one
Took
out.
that out. And that's why we zeroed out, I think, or we
And
And that-
zeroed it out for
Yeah.
this year because we had that coming in.
And that particular resolution put quite a bit of money in paving.
Right.
So it might be that you ask, and Mike, is there any way that you can, because it wasn't on the financial town referendum, but can the council do it by ordinance for the end of this fiscal year to do that if you're comfortable that we're going to be able to be solvent? But that the issue last year is we didn't know where we were going to be, but I think we're on better solid ground this year other than waiting.
I definitely think we should put it as a resolution this year.
Mhm.
I don't know if we need to make it an ordinance for this
No,
year.
to affect this fiscal year.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if I'm thinking we put 250 in there,
Okay.
but Mike said 500, so.
That was, just listening to the conversation, I'm just questioning if 250 is going to be enough if there are road projects that need to be done.
Well, I think Rick just answered that question, that there's no safety ones, so that was my concern. If he said that one road was going to cause a huge safety hazard. Now, keep in mind, there are people complaining about roads on Facebook and everywhere else.
Right, some of those are state roads.
Most of those are state roads, because every time I see those complaints, I look it up, and I'd have to say 90% of what's being complained about are state roads. So we might want to at some point talk to our legislation about this, but a lot of the road problems that people are complaining about presently are not on roads. Donna, your dog. No.
That's okay.
No, I'm laughing because at any moment, my dog is going to stop us.
Stop.
Surprised he hasn't.
Oh, God.
Donna, did you
I
have your
just
hand up?
wanted to say it's 180 and 250 comes out to 430. Could we round that off for another 20,000 to be 450 at least for him to spend on? So
270 then?
270, yeah.
But the 180 is.
180 is this year. 180 is this year.
180 is this year, Donna. So he might spend that.
Oh, he will spend it.
He will spend it.
And if I may, Denise and everybody, the 750 wasn't a random number. The 500, when I did some quick calcs a long time ago, as I mentioned the other day at one of the meetings, at $500,000 a year, it would be something along the lines of 70 years before, if you did road A and you went all the way to road Z, before you paved road A again. So 70 years is way too long for a road to last. That's why you have the issues you have. So there's a difference between comfort and practicality versus safety. So safety issues, it's rare that a pothole will be that big of a safety issue, but certainly people don't want to be driving down roads that are in terrible shape. So that's why the number is in there with the 750 to make up for some of last year, and the 500 on an annual basis, because the longer you go without doing the roads, the further behind you get. So I just wanted to mention that.
Well, I think, Rick, my opinion is last year we really got rid of all our capital. We did a lot of things last year that we probably shouldn't have, but we had to because of our financial constraints. And I'm not really quite sure that this year is going to be any greater right now. I understand, and maybe we can get back to that spending, but there's a lot of other departments that need things, including the whole town. So I just think that 750 is not something that we can afford right now. I like the 250 if Donna, and like Donna, like we just told you, the 180 is but next year. So 250 would round it off. If people want to increase it, that's fine. Deb, I think you had your hand up.
What I was just going to say is, I think the reason that we had done that resolution was because every year when we made cuts, we cut it to paving. And we ended up moving money out of that account, and that's where the cuts were. And so the roads get worse and worse, and we're patching little tiny little areas and not addressing the problem. We're kicking that can every year down the road. So I really don't, because we don't have money going in by resolution, I don't really want to cut it so much. I mean, I think 750 is high, but I just don't want to cut it so much that we're, not having any funds in there. We'll end up having to transfer funds.
So what number?
It's a bad winter, it's like snowing every day, and that's what happens. It makes the road have more potholes than.
So what number are you thinking, Deb? You want to go 500?
I was thinking 500.
Yes.
Councilor Vieira?
Unfortunately, it's 12:15 and I have to bring my dog to the vet. I couldn't get any other appointment. So if you want to put this 500 to a vote, I'll vote, but I do need to leave.
Anybody else have any questions? Donna?
I just think the 500's too much and of a burden on people that just had an increase in their taxes recently. I know we need the roads done, but we're always going to need roads done. If you really want to catch up on roads, you're going to have to use all the casino money for like 10 years to do all the roads. I just feel it's a terrible burden right now, and we can possibly catch up next year. I'll go as high as 300 or 350. That's it for me.
So, Madam President, can I make a motion
Sure.
that we reduce this line item to 375,000?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
So I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Councilor Edwards?
Yes, reluctantly.
Councilor Vieira?
Yes.
Councilor Burke?
Yes.
Councilor Cook?
No.
Councilor Janick?
Yes.
Councilor Perry? You're on mute, Joe.
No.
And I'm a yes. So what's the vote? So it's 5-2.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're looking at Public Works 5540. Does anyone else have any questions?
So the bottom line is 699,889 if you use the most recent 217 docket. And that, what that did was that level funded the director's salary to the current, because that has not been evaluated yet.
So say that number again, Chris.
699,889.
Any further questions on 5540?
Well, that's just
Madam
the
President.
salary line items.
Right. That's not everything.
It's not everything.
No, I'm looking at 50, isn't 5540?
That 5540 includes operational costs, which would bring it to 806,600 is what I see.
I was only doing the salary lines.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
No, I was doing the whole line.
Oh, all right. Hang on.
And I'm confused.
I was doing 55. Well, I thought that was kind of low.
Yeah, so total 5540 looks, no, it's not. It's
So 1,181,600 minus what, 375,000?
Yep.
And also bringing the Director of Public Works down. Did we already do that?
That already includes that then.
That's in there.
So what is the number?
Hang on.
So we're not, Madam President, can I ask? Madam President?
Yes, go ahead.
So I see 55, are we going to vote separately on the other line items under Public Works?
Yes,
Okay, okay.
yes, I'm just doing like the 5540, then I'll go to,
Yep.
the- if that's all right with everybody.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that it
I
was
just
clear.
thought it would be easier if we did it this way. We could keep track of it better.
So I'm not so sure that's right. 800.
I'm not quite,
That's not right because it's just the salary amounts and then the operating expenses is 1,181,000.
so Chris, would you rather have us just do the salary amounts first?
I would do the salary amounts first and then do the operating.
Okay, so the salary amounts, does someone want to make a motion for that?
I'll
889.
make a motion that we approve the salary line items under 5540 Public Works for a total of $699,889.
Second.
I have a Second by Counselor Janick. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Janick,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay, you want to do operating expenses, Chris?
Oh, I think that should be 806,600.
Yep. So, Madam President, I make a motion that we approve the operating expense line items under 5540 Public Works for a total of $806,600.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
No.
Counselor Janick,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So the next would be rubbish and recycling, right? Is that what you're all thinking, 5,500?
What about street lighting and hydrants?
Is that under, yeah, okay, street lighting.
So that's, that includes both the electrical cost and the prism maintenance cost to maintain those lights.
Okay, so that's for a total of 75,000.
Correct.
Do I have a motion?
Is it,
Do I have a motion?
Jay has a question first.
Go ahead, Jay.
Chris, are we finally getting bills on time from National Grid?
Yes, we are. It took a while to get it squared away, but we have now finally got them, I think, back on track.
So we're saying that the cost of this went up $5,000 above last year?
So part of that is the maintenance cost. We just have a real antsy feeling that it gets over a certain amount on some of these developments, that these costs can actually get pretty high. On Prism, I did rein them in. I told them when it got to a certain level, they had to call for permission first instead of doing what they were doing. So, because it was kind of it was just out of control. And there are some lights we're just not replacing. I'm just not doing it. That's
So
we don't have
so
the
they
money.
had the ability to monitor and then just do maintenance as they saw necessary.
So the maintenance takes care of all the changing the bulbs and those types of things. But they got into some major construction on some repairs where they wanted to send me a bill for like $30,000, and I kind of gave them, it was in a development that they had to go through paved driveways, paver driveways, architectural landscape flower beds. Well, none of the stuff was in conduits. It was, and I told them they can't do that anymore. And we didn't pay the bill. That's
good.
We're still working our way through resolving it, but it's, there needed to be a containment. So, but there is some areas where there is some issue. Some of these light poles are, $2,000 a piece. So, if they're critical, we're going to have to replace some of them. Right now, we've opted not to replace some of the decorative ones if there's enough in the area. So.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President?
Yes.
Chris, how close are we to hitting the 70,000 in the budget for this year?
I don't have an expenditure report with me, but
I do.
I've
so-
talked to Denise and I thought we were pretty much on target with this.
Okay. Madam President,
Yes.
I would make a motion that we approve $75,000 for line item 3380, street lighting.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Janick,
Yes.
Counselor Perry.
Yes.
All right, hydrant services, 3420, $1,600, 800 for North Tiverton Fire, and 800 for Stonebridge. Any questions?
Again, I think that they asked for a lot more money. I just level funded them.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Madam President, I move we approve line item 3420 hydrant services for a total of $1,600.
I'll second it.
Second.
All right, I'll give Donna the second. All those in favor, Jay Edwards,
Yes.
Mike Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Janick,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Rubbish and recycling, 5,500. Our new figure is,
729,200.
do I have a motion? And that's contractual.
It is.
Do I have a motion?
I make a
I'll make-
motion, we approve $729,200 for item 5,500 rubbish recycling collection.
Donna, you want to second it? Because I know you wanted to make a.
Yeah.
motion.
Yeah.
And Donna seconded. All those in
Yep.
favor, Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Janick,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Next, landfill, 5530. What we did have, I have circled bulldozer repairs. Did we? We had a lot of discussion about that. Do we still need 40,800? I would assume yes, right?
Yes, if I may comment on that, Denise.
Sure.
That would be for, of course, the after July 1st, and that would be geared towards the landfill dozer 963D, the 2007. The one we're currently repairing is the 2000. That's the 21-year-old one. That's a 963C. So once that's fixed and we can get that at the landfill, we can get the other one repaired for minor repairs that we would do. And then for Milton Cat to take a look at it and give an estimate and for what they feel has to be done on a more major scale. So yes, we think the $40,800 is going to be hopefully a good number.
Any questions? On
I have
landfill
one.
operations? Go ahead.
After the debacle with the one that they have now, what makes you think this won't increase by 50%?
We don't know that, but there may be, hopefully if the other one is in decent shape, maybe we just opt to defer this and just don't do it. But you don't want to, I don't want to throw the whole body out with the bathwater maybe we don't need, maybe that's not the issue, but it does need some repairs. And we don't, you also still, even though you get the other one back, there may be some repairs to the one that we bring back as well. There are other things that are going to break on things that, this is a piece of equipment that takes a lot of abuse.
Well, the other question I have is for Rick. Isn't one or the other, I don't know which one we did last, going to have to be retracked?
Well, the 963C, the one that's up in Milford now, that's going to cost about $70,000.
Right.
That's the 2000 dozer, and yes, the carriage is being worked on as we speak. Hopefully, well, maybe not this weekend.
Well, what I'm asking is, aren't we going to have to replace the tracks on one of them soon?
The tracks, I don't know if the 963D will have to have the tracks replaced. There's there's so many moving components on it that you're not sure what's going to have to be replaced. But the tracks themselves, they don't look to be too bad right now, but I don't know if they're going to need to be replaced. Another item simply is there's a lot of things that are not visible because they're covered up, et cetera, by plates. So the 40,800 is sort of a modest estimate. It could be less and it could be more, but until you actually get the machine taken apart, you won't know.
And therein lies the problem.
Yes, and when we're not aware of any way to go around that problem or to solve that problem.
Any further questions? Okay, can I entertain a motion for landfill operations 5530? And that number is
290-964.
So moved.
do I have a second?
Second it.
All those in favor, Councillor Edwards,
Yes.
Councillor Burke,
Yes.
Councillor Cook,
Yes.
Councillor Janick,
Yes.
Councillor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Building Maintenance Division 5130, like, for total, am I right, 120, 102?
Correct.
Any questions there?
This is all contractual. correct?
Yeah, the increase here is just the ASME contractors, contract, really.
Make a motion.
I have a
Who made
question.
the motion? Oh,
120, 102 for Building Maintenance Division. Account
Donna, I'll get to your question
6130.
in a minute. A second, do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, any discussion, Donna?
Yeah, my question is the longevity on 5130, which is 5108. It wasn't there and all of a sudden it's there and it's going up. It's Teamsters, am I correct?
Correct.
Right.
I'd like to.
They're not
I'd like-
supposed to have.
Yeah, I'll answer that if you wish. This is Rick. The longevity, Donna, is kicked in when an employee meets a certain tenure. And I believe that no longer exists for new employees, but they're ASME, they're not Teamsters. There are some Teamsters with longevity also. So that was, they both reached their goal in building maintenance. I think it was in 2019.
Yep, it
So
was.
that's why that, okay, so that's why that number pops up, and it goes up simply because it's a percentage of their base.
Yep, and I do remember that per contract, Rick.
These aren't Teamsters. These are ASME people. That's right.
Ask me,
They're
okay.
ASME. They're not Teamsters.
I get kind of confused about it because I'm told that the people that are hired, they were probably hired before this went into effect. I'm not sure, but the ASME no longer has longevity either at a certain point. So all
Right,
of a
but
sudden,
But I think this is employees that were still there that it pertained to them. Am I correct?
Grandfathered.
okay,
Yep.
all right. Well,
Anyone
it's
else?
not all right, but
Anyone else? Okay, so I have a motion on the floor in a second. Council Edwards,
yes.
Council Burke,
Yes.
Council Cook,
yes.
Councilor Janick,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Next would be park maintenance and mowing, 8840. For 57,930. And that just went up by like $600 for personnel mowing service. Am I correct? Yes.
Right.
620, yeah.
All right, any questions regarding this? Can I entertain a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second,
We'll give it to Deb. All those in favor? Counselor Edwards,
yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Janick,
Yes.
and Counselor Perry.
Yes.
Anything else? Am I missing anything else under Rick?
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
think so,
Think
right?
so.
No, I don't think
There
so.
was no other,
No, I don't think so. I have red checks on everything. That's my only red check.
just recycling center and the town hall repairs, is that,
Oh, yeah, that's under Rick.
and the stormwater drainage or
Town
non-road?
hall repairs. Is that a capital?
Yeah, they're all in capital.
Yeah, I think we approved that.
Okay, all right. Okay,
And
you
the
probably, yeah, you
recycling
did, that's
center
what
we
you did.
approved
You did,
too,
you
so-
did do all that.
That's why you punch numbers into those.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so we're on page 14 for the boards and commissions.
Vic, I want to thank you for joining us on another Saturday.
My pleasure. Thank you all. Hope you have a nice weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
It doesn't snow anymore this
Get
week.
back in that truck, Rick.
Yeah.
Hope it doesn't snow anymore this year.
That's my prayer. Thanks.
There you go.
Okay, so we did senior center, we did economic development, now we're doing boards and commissions.
Right.
Any, that's pretty much level funded.
I did level fund them all, so I'll give you the Open Space Commission wanted 3,400 and the Personnel Board wanted 300. I just level funded everybody. There were some people who didn't even put in a budget. I didn't get anything from the Budget Committee or from the tree or the Fort Barton Maintenance, but I do know that all of those, they do have operations that they need, and they do a good job at what they do. So I just level funded everybody, even though I didn't get a request.
I
I
think
do
the
know that
budget,
they do good work, so.
budget committee amount, that's for videoing, right, guys?
Correct.
Yeah, we
It's for
increased
video
that for
and
the
for the-
secretary
Very,
and video.
yeah.
But we're not paying for a secretary now,
No.
correct?
No,
Not
Yeah.
this year.
they are paying for video, for YouTube.
Oh, that's right. They're not this year.
We're not
They didn't.
paying for a
They're
secretary.
paying for the Zoom stuff, but that's, it's not that much money, but
All right,
so
but
it
this
could
is
be
for
reduced.
next year, and I happen to know because I'm a regular attendant of the budget committee. I don't think Sherry Ackley is willing to do it next year,
Yeah.
and they couldn't get anyone at all to do it besides Sherry, and she kind of just decided to do it
So,
because she's a nice
and
person.
I'll just be frank with this, that, we did ask the staff here if they would consider doing it. The issue is that they, I don't know what their minutes look like now, but when they were preparing the minutes, they were pretty verbose and they wanted everything in the minutes that was said. And it's a lot for the staff to do because they have to sit through the meeting and then they have to sit for a few hours later to go back through and watch the tape to make sure they got everything in. That they're not required to do that. All they're required to do is memorialize the votes. And when I suggested that might be a suggestion that we put forth, but the budget committee didn't want, they wanted their minutes the way that they've been done in the past. And so the staff were not at all enamored with continuing down that road. So, because it is a lot for them to do and it takes away from their, the things that they do daily. So.
I get it. I did it for 3 years on the budget committee. It's tough. I understand.
But what I do remember when we did all the years that we did it, under my tenure, all we did was memorialize the votes.
Yeah, and there was a big discussion about this a couple of years ago, and I think they still feel the same way, that they don't want to do it that way.
Well,
I mean, if
we had a secretary out of the clerk's office, and I don't think they found last year particularly arduous. So I don't know what's changed between last year and this year.
well, I think the budget committee's agenda minutes are still very detailed, and I guess last year, I think it's a different person that was doing it. Am I correct, Jay?
There were two of them that were doing it, I believe.
There were two. There were
They alternated. Yeah.
Christine and
Donna, I think.
Donna.
Yeah, well, they didn't want to do it this year.
Well,
And I concur, they did not want to do it this year.
No.
yeah, okay.
It's a lot
So
of work. It's
Yeah.
a lot of
money.
work.
It's not a
I
lot
used
of
them
money.
up last year.
Yeah, I think you probably tired them out, Jay.
Is this the only board or commission that requests a narrative like that?
It
Yeah.
is. No, I will say, like the zoning board has to have a stenographer because they do have to create a record.
Right, that's by law.
The planning board does a fairly decent job of memorializing what happens during the hearing, but they have a clerk that does that, that's assigned to the planning board roles. It's not somebody that's coming from the town clerk's office.
Right.
But they are pretty verbose, and they don't have to create a record for the same reason the zoning board does, but they do try to maintain a decent record for historical purposes. But other than that, the town budget committee is advisory to the taxpayers. There's no litigation that's ever going to happen.
Right. I would suggest that we,
Litigation is the vote. It's not.
Yeah.
The discussion.
I would suggest that we reduce it by whatever amount we were paying for that. And, the committee would need to have somebody do that if they want such a record. If they want a more basic record as required by law, then, we can provide it. But I don't think we need to go overboard.
Well, it was $800 in the past, and I believe that was for the video.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 1,200 was for their minute taking, I believe, anyway.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Last year, Deb can tell you, and I'll tell you, it's very difficult, like for us, to follow and track things as they're discussed for the budget committee. And there's 11 people, so it gets kind of involved. And what happened last year, especially with what went on last year, it was just decided that we would rather try to get a secretary, which Nancy Mello was able to do for us, to take the minutes, do the notes, take the minutes and all that. It's just that this year, again, nobody really wanted to take it on. And they, again, would have preferred a secretary provided by whoever.
Are all the meetings taped?
I was just going to say, they were all taped.
They're all taped.
They're all taped. And in actuality, the women who did it from the clerk's office, that's above and beyond their job duties, that they're not required to do that. They did it
They got
on
paid.
a volunteer basis. They were paid. Yes, they were paid.
But it wasn't worth it. But
for them, they didn't feel it was worth it. And I get it, because I took them, and you're sitting there and you take them, and then you have to put them in a final form. And we had budget committee members over the years that made you change, and I'm talking like minuscule little changes.
Right.
I worked full time. That became a full-time job on top of it. And you don't really need to have all of that, because
Right.
you have the video backup.
They could tone it down.
But, there's another alternative. It doesn't have to be a clerk's office. They could advertise for a secretary and they could hire a secretary. It doesn't have to be someone from the clerk's office.
No, and I was surprised when it was somebody from the clerk's office.
Yeah, but I'm not sure who would be interested, but you never know. But they could put out an ad to see if they could get a secretary.
Or a liaison from the council would be willing to do it for free.
That would be me.
We got a volunteer.
That'd be me and Denise.
That would be me and Deb, and both of us say no. I can speak to Deb.
Been there, done that. Yeah.
No, me neither.
Yeah, I've got enough stuff to do.
So is
What is your motion? What do you?
Is 800 enough for everything else?
It should be.
Yes,
Yes.
it's enough for Andrew.
I make a motion that the budget committee be provided $800.
So second it.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Now, and I'd like to say, just like they did in the past, if this doesn't work out for them, they can always come to us and see if we have any funds to fund it. But right now, they're not using it. So I think Mike has a good point.
It does.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Janick,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
So that leaves the total of the boards and commissions at 11,000 even. It would be 12,200 minus 1,200.
Yep.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So the motion is for 621 boards and commissions, the total be 1,100.
11,000?
11,000.
11,000.
No,
Well, no, that's
I'll
not
second
right
that.
either.
It's not
Yeah.
right.
No, because that would be 11,800, so.
No, it comes
No,
out.
you're right, it's 11,000.
I'll second that.
Okay. I actually wrote 1,100. I must be getting tired. That's why I said it. All right, Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Cook,
Yes.
Counselor Janick,
Yes.
Counselor Perry,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. All right, civic appropriations.
Okay, so I'll give you the same rundown. All the civic appropriations were, I think I level funded them all. There were 3 of them that were requested higher. The East Bay Community Action asked for 10,000. The Newport County Women's Resources asked for 1,000. And the Eastern Rhode Island District Commission asked for 2,000, but I just level funded them based on, consistency over the last couple of years.
Any questions? Mike?
I would just note, I agree with the level funding at this stage. I think we get a good bang for our buck for the community, especially from the visiting nurses in East Bay and the Women's Resource Center. I'm not as familiar with some of the others. I wish we could give them more because with the food bank, with the services that other services that East Bay and visiting nurses provide, and the Women's Resource Center, what they provide for women who undergo domestic violence and other assaults. I think we could provide more, but we don't have that ability right now.
So I did get one late request from the Samaritans for $500, which I did not put in. I haven't done that, but I did want to make note that if you want to include it, it's your discretion, but it wasn't in last year. I haven't seen it in the last couple of years. So
It was there a few years ago, and then we stopped getting requests from them.
Okay.
So we pulled all the ones that stopped giving us requests. We didn't give them any if they didn't.
The request did come in fairly late, so I just wanted you to be aware of it.
Denise,
Yes.
did you say in the past that some of these never picked up their checks?
Yeah, and what we did, it's not these, Deb.
Okay.
It was others. That was another problem. They requested the money and it went into the general fund at the end of the year. So I think it was way back with me and Matt. I think we went over all of these and the treasurer brought to our attention that some of these just ended up back in the general fund and they never took the money, but it's not the ones listed now.
Okay.
No.
So we did have one this year. It was the Garden Club, just, but they were under the impression that we stopped all spending. So they didn't ask for it, even though it was approved. And when they put in their request, we did give them the money from last year because they did spend money. They did their gardens and they just
They
assumed
spend more money than
all
what we
money
give
that
them.
nobody's gonna get anything. So, but we did give them their grant, so
Okay. Anyone
They
else?
fundraise too, yeah.
they do.
Donna?
Just as an interesting aside, if
I was
anybody
gonna
watched the
talk.
last budget committee meeting,
Yeah.
they actually, the one person who I thought would be vehemently opposed was a champion. So you have to watch the meeting.
Yeah, I was there. Donna, I'm sorry. I saw your hand up and I didn't recognize you.
Okay. I've always been opposed to the town picking charities. I think that's a personal matter. So and then you pick and choose. A lot of these, if you look, they're getting very high salaries. The money does not come to Tiverton. And this is a third dip for grants. They get federal, state, and then they come to the town for more money. The $5,000 from these particular visiting nurses, East Bay Community Action, if it went just to East Bay Action, they would be here anyway. But the fact of the matter is that the money could end up in Washington State. It just does not just come to Tiverton. It goes to the corporation and then they divvy it out. So once again, I'm and the other thing is parents as teachers, how long is that going to stay there? When does it come off the
No,
list?
we can take that off because parents.
Yeah, I'll take that out.
Parents as teachers don't exist anymore.
I'll take it out now.
Yeah,
I didn't
historical,
realize that.
the Historical Society, we haven't been given it, that's a private club anyway.
But I think because of historic reasons with the 500 for the FY 1920 and the 20 actual, that stays in there. But see, I agree with the parent teachers as teachers, that doesn't have any numbers in at all. That should come out.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Burke?
I just want to clarify, Visiting Nurses of Newport County is not a national organization. East Bay Community Action is not a national organization. Newport County Women's Resource Center is not a national organization. Money that is given to those organizations, whether it's by us, the federal government, or the state, or through private fundraising, provide services to agents, to people in those communities that they serve, including Tiverton. We have, for example, we have a food bank that is very well used, that is operated in Tiverton by East Bay Community Action. We have Women's Resource, Visiting Nurses is providing services to individuals in Tiverton, and so is the Resource Center. And I'm wondering, Chris, can we ask them for some data on what they provide to our folks?
I can, and I'm not so sure some of that isn't in the.
Mike, I think we've done that in the past, and
I will definitely ask them.
I have to say that I personally work with East Bay Community Action because of Singing Out Against Hunger, and it's a great organization. And Singing Out Against Hunger gives the majority, a lot of our money to East Bay to feed the community. That is just.
They've been doing a tremendous job with food.
That is a great organization, and I can say it serves this area. I've seen it, I've worked with it, I've been at the food banks. Jay?
I'll just make maybe a little known comment about the Eastern Rhode Island Conservation District. Everybody knows that on our tax rolls, we have things called farms, open space, etc. And they have helped us in the past to determine, is a farm really a farm?
Right.
Is open space really open space? And we got a lot of bang for the buck on being able to get properties on tax rolls that would not otherwise have been, because we're not allowed to do that. They help us.
That's helpful. I didn't know that, Jay. Thanks.
Yeah, I do remember that they help a lot with that, help with taxes and what's the, yeah.
And I just want to say, as a healthcare provider, during this time of pandemic, and as we're trying to discharge patients from the hospital, we're having to keep people in the hospital longer because the resources at the visiting nurses are they just don't have enough. They don't have enough staff to get out there. So just think about if your loved one was having to stay in the hospital because there was not a nurse to go to their home to change their dressings. So $5,000 is really a drop in the bucket for what their needs are. It's mind-blowing. So.
And I want to say one more thing. I'm not one to add to a budget, but I want to consider the Good Samaritans in COVID times right now. The suicide rate is really high, and especially, believe it or not, for teens and 20-year-olds. And I know 500 isn't much, but it's a great organization that prevents a lot of suicides. And I think that 500 would just be our support to say, thank you, you're doing a good work. And right now, in the past year, it's been very troubling times, and the suicide rates have been off the wall. So I would like to add that 500. I don't know how the rest of you feel about it.
I'm for it.
I'll make a motion to add $500 to the Good Samaritans under 6250 to add that line in.
Just so we're clear, I think their name is only the Samaritans now.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Samaritan.
Yeah,
It used to be the Good Samaritans.
Yeah, I'm old, Mike. I'm still calling them Samaritans.
We still think they're good.
They're still good, though.
So our new total will be $14,050.
Right, let me vote on the 500. Did I get a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Councilor Burke?
Yes.
Councilor Cook?
Having listened to everyone, I agree. And Mike saying that it's just for Newport County, I was under the illusion that it went to visiting nurses nationally.
Yeah, but Donna, this is just for
yeah.
Good Samaritans.
Yeah,
right?
this is just for Samaritans right now.
All right. Good Samaritan, definitely people are having problems with that.
Thank you. Deb?
Yes.
Councilor Vieira, I know you just came in and I don't know if you know what you're voting for.
I'm going to recuse myself on this one. Sorry.
Okay. Councilor Perry?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So now that increases our total to 14,050, right?
14,050.
Yes. Madam President, I move that we approve $14,050 for item 6250 Civic Appropriations. And I also, Donna, thank you for your comments a minute ago.
Thank you.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Let's just do a sec. Who's seconding?
Second, Joe Perry,
Councilor
second.
Perry, Joan. I know it's getting confusing. It's like a free-for-all right now. I'm sorry. Donna, you had your hand up?
Yeah, that was just for the Samaritans, right?
Yes.
The first vote was for the Samaritans. This next motion is for the entire thing.
All right.
Okay, so any further discussion? Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Councilor Burke?
Yes.
Councilor Cook?
I have one more question. I was told it was 14,050. Are we doing the 6250? Are you just saying that with the Samaritans, it's bringing it to 14,050?
Yes. With the Samaritans, it added 500 to the bottom line that you see, the 13,550.
Okay. All right, yes.
Yes, because we just voted to put it under civic appropriations. Now we're approving the entire amount.
All right.
Yes. Councilor Janick?
Yes.
Councilor Vieira, do you want to abstain or?
Yeah, I'm just going to abstain. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome back, Bill. Councilor Perry?
Yes.
Okay, so it passed, and I'm a yes.
Thank you, Donna.
Yeah,
So-
you're
Thank
welcome,
you.
Donna.
Thank you.
So just for clarity, because I'm trying to make it so Bill doesn't have to do paperwork if he doesn't need to. On the last one, when you recused, did you really mean to abstain?
He meant
I meant to abstain. Yes.
Okay. This is recorded, so I want to make sure somebody doesn't
Thank
come
you.
looking for paperwork.
Refuse
you.
paperwork.
I hope you made out well at the vet, Bill. And the
You
only,
look good, Bill. You look good.
did you get all those shots, Bill?
One of the perks of living in the North End, you can drive to the vet, get your dog shot, still get Chinese, and come right back to a town council. Great.
But we didn't get any Chinese.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More shots though, Joe.
All right, town council. And we've done really well.
Unfund the whole thing.
All right, I want to talk about council contingency. I've been looking at what we have left in there, and we only spent 1%. Now, we increased it last year because we put, because we had all the administrators, department head salary increases in there. We also had ASME and the police in there and fire. Now, I was thinking about this after I mentioned it the other day. Denise doesn't take money out of this until she falls short on the accounts. So this is going to go significantly down once we do evaluation and once the year ends and we have to take it out to pay for the salaries and everything else that we approved with the contract. So I'm curious, Chris, do you think we still need 85,000 in there?
So for next year, I'm trying to find my sheet where I had.
Yeah,
So
it's gonna be police.
Well, police is probably going to be somewhere around at least $67,000 to $70,000 if it's 2.5% increase on their salaries.
Well, if.
And then if you just add up all the director salaries, which comes to, I just have it. And I'm just figuring a 2% increase on all those would come to another $12,000.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is 85,000. So you're saying to increase it?
No. The 85,000 has monies that came from the elections.
Yes.
It had monies in it for this year's director salaries. And I don't know what generated all of it because I wasn't in part of last year's budget process as far as, oh, no, I was.
And what generated is we decided that we wouldn't put the raises.
Right. So we didn't have any raises though, other than the directors.
Okay.
And there were no unions that went into this number.
Yeah, there was unions that went in there.
Not for this.
Yeah, I think.
Not when Chris was here.
No.
Oh, not when Chris was here. Okay.
So that's, I was thinking the FY20 budget. So all I did was I took the 67,000 as what was in FY20 and we added some numbers into it for this year because we didn't know where we're going to be this year. So obviously we do know that some of that is going to be the bulldozer is going to come out of there. You know, and there are some director salaries. If it's the same number as next year, 2% on an average or 2.5%, you're looking at $12,000. But I don't know what else historically the council has had in that contingency as a base number.
Well, that's always been a question, but we use this for stuff like just happened to buy a bulldozer.
Right.
We use this if
Madam President, I believe we used it one time for some legal fees too.
Yes, we do that a lot. If we overshoot the we used to keep in there somewhere. If I remember when I first came on, it was somewhere around 50,000. And then we started putting these raises in there and that's what increased it. 85 is fine, but we only spent about 2% of that. And I think it's because of what this year is and people aren't asking for over money or for extra things or things are not,
well, because I tell them no.
Right, that's why. That's why. And I think we've been very smart keeping this at what it was because we were so tight and it was there in case we needed it. I
would just say out of, if I know what the town's budget is somewhere around, and I'm not saying we need to have a percentage of what it is, but when you're looking at like $19 million to operate and I know there's another 5 million in debt service, but even if you just go this straight operating, the council needs to have some latitude to have some monies. And I don't think it's unreasonable to stay at $85,000, especially when you're looking at 2.5% looking in your police pension for your IBPO contract next year. If that number is going to be in your council contingency, that doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room at all. And I'm not asking to increase it, but I just want you to be realistic about what's going to come out of it next year versus this year. Now,
and what's very interesting is even after we do the contracts, we don't take as much out of council contingency as you think because we have override in some of
No,
these funds.
because we are gonna have some vacant positions.
Right.
There is like personnel turnover that you know, obviously the two big departments, police and fire, although we haven't had a lot of turnover of late, but, you know, there is some turnover, so you do generate some of those monies that are gonna go towards that will help offset that, so there'll be less coming out of the council contingency.
And I also want to say, like, I'm going to be fair, this is as of January. We tend to get requests for this money more towards the end of the budget when people realize they're short here or they need something. So
some of the most recent increases we did are retroactive to July 1st, so they'll be coming effective in the next couple of pay periods. And so you will see some of that be reduced, but we're not talking a lot of money for the director salaries at the moment. But you know, even if it's $10,000 by the end of the year, it's, you know, I think it's money well spent, but it's, you know, you're right. You have not seen it because it hasn't affected the expenditure sheets as of yet, but it will eventually hit the expenditure sheets.
yeah, and I agree with the 85,000. I just felt I needed to say something because I brought it up a couple of times. And I thought more and more about it. I'm not concerned about it anymore. Mike?
Just some perspective, if, you know, taking Chris's number of an $18 million budget, it's about 0.5% of the total budget. So it's really, and plus if we don't spend it like in FY20, we spent about, what was it, $6,000. So that's minuscule in terms of the percentage of the budget.
Councilor Janick?
So we have this other line item, 2,300. It's unfunded liability, sick and vacation. That's to cover retirement, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we're not putting any of that into this.
No, that's,
Contingency.
you know, that could be another place, depending on how many retirements we have, that you might have some monies to draw from to transfer to do something with the union raises. But that's, you know, it is a good point. I mean, we will make it work one way or another. I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day. And I know the council has always been very frugal about trying to have money in their council contingency because they don't want to look like, and it's appearance sakes for all intents and purposes. But they're, like what Mike just said, it's less than 1%, it's 0.5%. And we already know that there's a large chunk that's going to come out for a major union increase. So it's, you know, it's not monies that's being spent inappropriately. I think the council does a really good job of trying to manage these budgets to make sure that the town is getting the services it needs at the rates and what we can afford to do it. And we, you know, we don't spend money foolishly if we don't have to, so.
Okay, so that's about so that's level funded. Does everyone agree with it? Donna?
Is there any way to have a more transparent list of what the money's going for in that contingency fund? It seems like a pot of money that someone's going, I think it was for this and I think it was for that. I don't think that's a good way to do something.
Well, I think that I think the treasurer probably has a very accurate amount of what came out of each, what came out of that, and we can do it every year. We can list what we spent out of that.
Oh, is there a list or something that we could have?
Yes,
I mean, I don't really have anything to look at.
Yes, there is a list. I'm sure the treasurer keeps track of it. You know what's really interesting? We only spent 5,000 of it in 2019, 2020.
Right.
Look at the actual 2019, 2020.
Yeah, it's $5,000 and change.
Hmm.
So Denise, when money is taken out of the contingency fund, isn't that show up in the transfers?
Absolutely. Yes, Jay.
So there's your list.
Yeah, absolutely. But we could get it to compile that list if we asked.
Yeah, but Jay, when I look, I don't know where it came from. It's in red, but I can't always tell where it came from.
It says, when you're looking at transfers, it says what account it came out of, what account it went into, the dollar amounts, and who requested it.
I think Don is talking about a summary report.
Right.
So you see the negative number, but you don't.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I understand.
Yeah, so we can ask her, Donna, I'm sure it's like just a press of a button where she could get that information.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I think that would be helpful. Yeah, thanks,
That would
Donna.
be helpful.
And could it be given to the budget committee also?
Oh,
Thank you.
And I just as a point, I think in the years when we don't have a contract being negotiated, we know what their salaries are going to be, so we're taking less from here. So when we're having contract negotiations going on, we don't know what that next percentage increase will be. So there would have to be more in that fund and more would be coming out. So if we only had 5,000 coming out, we were in between contracts.
Probably.
well, not only that, Deb, but in 2019, 2020, we didn't take the salary increases out of there either, because
So
we changed
it's a
that.
different
No, we didn't.
accounting, yeah.
We changed that this year. All right, so do I have a motion? For
I'll make a
120
motion to put $128,700 into 1020 town council.
Second,
Okay, so I have a motion by Councilor Janick, seconded by Councilor Perry, I think.
yes,
Okay, all those in favor, Councilor Edwards,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes,
Councilor Cook,
Yes.
Councilor Janick,
Yes,
Councilor Vieira,
Yes.
Councilor Perry,
yes.
I'm a yes. Have I forgotten anything? I don't think so. No, I think we covered a lot.
mhm.
Okay, so,
Motion to adjourn.
yeah, I just want to say that, if you noticed, I don't know if you have your town agenda, well, you did get an email with the town council agenda. I did put some budget items on there also, so that we could stop moving quickly. I might have to call one more meeting just to wrap stuff up and to vote for a final number before March 3rd. Councilor Perry.
Madam, yes, I'd like to thank my fellow council members for moving the meeting to 10:30 so I could attend. Thank you.
Anytime, Joe.
anytime, Joe.
I wish you would have suggested it last Saturday and we would have done it. I apologize, but you weren't at the meeting when we set this up, so it wasn't fair to you that you couldn't request it, so.
Good.
All right, do I have
Thank
a motion to adjourn? I think I do.
Yes, you got it.
Do I have a
Second,
Okay, I have a second, motion by Councilor Perry, second by Councilor Burke. Show of hands, please. Thank you, Donna. Although, thank you everyone for spending another Saturday with us, and we'll see